Dear student, welcome to our program, Knowledge Quest. The subject is biology, and I'm your teacher, Lydia Asiago. In our previous lesson, we were discussing on genetics, and still we are going to discuss more on genetics because it's a wide topic. And during the last lesson, we learned about sex determination, whereby we said that the male organism has the XY chromosome, while the female has the XX chromosome. And we said that during fertilization, the chances of getting an XX or an XY, it is 50%, meaning the chances of getting a boy child or a girl child is 50%. We went further and explained about sex-linked characteristics, and we said that we have genes that are located on the X chromosome. We have genes that are located on the sex chromosomes, and because of that, we said that we call them sex-linked genes. Now, the sex-linked genes, we were able to give examples of sex-linked genes. We say that these are genes that are located on the sex-determining chromosome, and when we inherit those chromosomes, we inherit together with those genes. So the genes do not separate from the chromosome. Now, we were able to identify a few of the sex-linked genes. We say that we have some of the characteristics that their genes are carried on the X chromosome. Those that are carried on the X chromosome, we were able to list a few. I remember we said we have hemophilia. We have color blindness. And we also gave examples of the genes that are located on the Y chromosome. And when you inherit the Y chromosome, you inherit together with those genes. We also gave an example of premature baldness. And that's why we said that the premature baldness, mostly we see this in men. We also talked about the hairy. So we have the hairy nose and ear. And number 3, we talked about the, remember we are just giving examples of the characteristics that are carried on the X chromosome, others are carried on the Y chromosome. Maybe we are going to discuss each of them, then from there we are going to learn more on those characteristics. Now, we talked about hemophilia, and we said that hemophilia is a condition whereby when one is cut or injured, he bleeds or she bleeds for a long time without the bleeding stopping. And we said that it is a condition that is caused by a recessive gene, and this recessive gene is carried on the X chromosome. And we discussed further, we said that for you to understand this, we need to do a genetic cross so that we see how we inherit that characteristic. Then we want to give an example. So today I'm going to teach using examples so that we can be able to understand more. Someone who is hemophilic or someone who looks very normal but is carrying a recessive gene for hemophilic. How do we know this? Physically you may not see, but in the subsequent generation, it may come out to be that someone was carrying a recessive gene for hemophilia. So number 1, we need to understand that hemophilia is caused by what? A recessive gene. So we want to discuss more on hemophilia. And then we are going to give examples on how we inherit the characteristic. Bearing in mind that we've said it's an example of a sex-linked, it is caused by a sex-linked gene. The gene for hemophilia is located on the X chromosome. Now, we said that anytime we do a genetic cross, anytime we do a genetic cross, there are 5 steps that we follow. Remember, we said the first step, we need to identify the parental phenotype. The second step, we get the genotype. Then we get the gametes. And of course, we said that gametes are formed during meiosis. And especially if it is the male gamete, that is in the case of man, the sperms are formed during spermatogenesis. And if it is the case of the female, that is the ovum or the ova, they are formed during oogenesis. And where are they formed? Of course, we know those reproductive organs. Now, we want to do a genetic cross of various examples to show how hemophilia is inherited. Remember, we are discussing on genetics, the study of variation and inheritance. So in a way, we are discussing which are these some of the characteristics that we inherit. And I'm giving an example of hemophilia, which is a sex-linked chromosome, a sex-linked gene that is carried on the sex chromosome. Now, you want to give an example. You want to give an example. So we say, so in example 1, we are going to have a man who is normal, who has a man with normal blood clotting, marries a woman who is hemophilic. So this person has the what? The woman has the gene for hemophilia, but the man is very normal. So you want to see what will be the genotype of the offspring, what will be the physically what will happen. We want to see the offsprings that we are going to produce. Now, remember we say that anytime we do a genetic cross, what do we need? Remember we said we are crossing the genes from the male and the female, but these genes are carried on the chromosomes. Of course, we say that we have the 46 chromosomes, that is 23 pairs of chromosomes. Then we say that for us to represent the genes, we use letters. In this case, we use letters to represent the gene. So in our case, we want to assume that we have a person who is having a normal blood clotting, and we have someone who is hemophilic. So in this case, remember that hemophilia is caused by a recessive gene, And anytime we talk about a recessive gene, then we are going to use a small letter to represent a recessive gene. If the gene for hemophilia is caused by a recessive gene, then it means the gene for normal blood clotting is dominant. It is dominant, meaning it will suppress the recessive gene. So we want to pick on the letter that we can use. In your case, just pick the letter that you want. But for this example, I want to pick a letter. I want to say, let capital H represent the gene for normal blood clotting. So I want you to be very keen. I'm picking a letter. You can also pick your letter so that we work together. Wherever you are, we are going to work together using the letter that you've picked, so that at the end of the day, we see if you have the same results. So the letter that I'm picking is representing the gene. So we are not just using the letter anyhow, we are using them to represent the gene. Then we are saying if this one is representing the gene for normal blood clotting, then we are going to let the small h. We are going to use the small h to represent the small h, because it is a recessive gene, to represent the gene for hemophilia. So in that case, I want you to be very keen with the letters. So we are saying that letter capital H is representing the gene for normal blood clotting. I said you can use the letter that you want, but in this example, I've decided to use capital H and small h. And in this case, anytime we use a capital letter, I've said it represents a dominant gene. Anytime we use a small letter, it represents a recessive gene. And we say a recessive gene can only show off in homozygous condition. And a dominant gene can show off either in homozygous condition or in heterozygous condition. So we do now the genetic cross. What do we start with? We say parental. So we say parental phenotype. Parental phenotype. Remember, we said phenotype is the physical appearance of the organism. And because we are dealing with the animals, that is a human being, we say that it is good we show if it is a man or if it is a woman. So parental phenotype, physically, we say the man has a normal blood clotting. So we say normal blood clotting. Then for the case of the female is what? Is a hemophilic. So physically we see the female is hemophilic. So has hemophilia. Then we move on to parental genotype. Parental genotype now, it means what is the genetic composition of that organism. As much as we see you have a normal blood clotting, you are hemophilic. So genetically, what are the genes you have? Remember, hemophilia is an example of a sex-linked. It is sex-linked. So when I talk about sex-linked, we can't miss to use the X and Y chromosome, because it is the X and Y that determine our what? Our sex. Now, so this person, because is normal, and we said that let capital H represent the normal blood clotting. Number 2, we said that the gene for hemophilia is carried on the X chromosome. So this one is found on the X chromosome. Don't forget that. So we are going to place it here. Now in that case, the Y does not carry the gene for hemophilia. The Y does not carry the gene for normal blood clotting. It is carried on the X chromosome. So the genotype for the man will be normal blood clotting, meaning has capital H. Then in this case, we are crossing these two genotypes. So I'm using a cross in that point to represent fusion, the genetic cross with a female. A female, we say that a female consists of two eggs. A female consists of the two eggs. Now, if the female has the two eggs, so it means that the two eggs, there are two options. We say that there are two options in this case. Let me even add the third. So we say that if the female is having this one, then we say this female has a normal blood clotting, but the female is a carrier because there is a recessive gene this side. Now, if the female has capital H, which was representing normal blood clotting, still this female has a normal blood clotting, But now, this case, this person is homozygous, normal blood clotting. This case, it is heterozygous, normal blood clotting. But remember, it is hemophilia. Hemophilia caused by recessive gene. So recessive gene can never show off where we have a dominant gene. So it means for someone who is hemophilic, then the two X are carrying the recessive gene. So a recessive gene can only show off in what? In homozygous condition. So in our case, we cannot have this, we cannot have this. This is what we have, hemophilic female. So we write here, hemophilic female. Then now we continue with the cross. So we said after the parental genotype, we want to assume that meiosis has taken place during gamete formation. Meiosis takes place, and then after meiosis, we form gametes. And we know that gametes, usually we say they have a half the number of chromosomes as the parent. Now let's see. So during meiosis, what do we expect? So we are going to have this X. We are going to have this X, which is carrying the gene for normal blood clotting, will be formed as a gamete cell. Then we say that gametes we circle, and you make sure that the circle is complete. Then we also have this Y. So we want to assume meiosis has taken place. Meiosis has taken place because we discussed what is meiosis and how it takes place. Then at this point we have another gamete which is carrying the X chromosome with the gene for hemophilia, and then we also have another one. So we said we make sure that the circle is complete. Now once we have the gametes, what do? We do the fusion. How do they fuse? During fertilization, there are only 4 chances. So you want to see during fertilization what is happening. We want to cross this with this one. Remember, we said it is a chance. So we have X, H, X, small h. Then if you cross this one with the next gamete, then you are going to form X, capital H, and X, small h. Number 2, if you cross this gamete with this one, then we are going to have X, small h, and then you cross this one. Before we cross that, let's have this. So we'll have X and then Y. Then you cross this one with this one. Then you're going to have X, H, Y. So that is the F1 genotype. F1 genotype. Now, genotype, you know, we cannot see. Physically, you cannot observe and say this person is having this characteristic. So, it is good that now we do what? We interpret. If someone is having this genotype, what does that mean? So, F1 phenotype. Phenotype, now physically, what will we see? We are going to see these are 2 girls. And these 2 girls, these are girls with normal blood clotting. Why am I saying they have a normal blood clotting? Because they have the gene for normal blood clotting, which is a dominant gene. So it will suppress the gene for hemophilia. So at the end of the day, these girls are what? They are carriers. They are very normal, they have a normal blood clotting system, but they are carrying the gene for hemophilia. Now, in the other case, we are seeing boys who are what? these are girls, these are boys who are hemophilic. They have hemophilia. These are boys that are hemophilic. So what does that tell you? If the mother is hemophilic, has the gene for hemophilia, then in her generation, all the boys will be having the condition of hemophilia. Why am I saying so? It is because boys can only get the X chromosome from the mother. And for the case of the mother, both chromosomes, they have what? They are carrying the gene for hemophilia. But for the case of the girls, all girls will be having normal blood clotting, but they will be carriers. So I hope as a student you're trying to internalize what we are learning. We just want to break for a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Dear student, welcome back to our program Knowledge Quest. And before we went for a short break, we were discussing the condition of hemophilia. And we said that hemophilia is caused by a recessive gene, and that recessive gene is carried on the X chromosome. So we tried to give an example of how we inherit the condition from how the offspring can inherit the condition from the parents. And for sure, for this case, we are able to see that if a normal man is marrying a hemophilic woman, then their children, half of them, which are the girls, they are going to be having a normal blood clotting, but you realize that they'll be carrying the recessive gene for hemophilia. Then the boys, both boys or all the boys in that family will be hemophilic. Hemophilic because boys, they only get the X from the mother. And we say that the mother is hemophilia. So it means that anytime they are going to get a boy in that family, that boy must be hemophilia because the Y chromosome does not carry the gene for hemophilia. Now, assume this is the first generation. Then, from this family, whereby you have girls with normal blood clotting, and you have boys with hemophilia. But now, let's pick one girl. You want to pick one girl who has a normal blood clotting system. But remember, in bracket, this person is what? A carrier, because the person is heterozygous, is in a heterozygous condition. Assume this person knows that I'm very normal. I have a normal blood clotting, and now this girl gets married to a man who has a normal blood clotting system. So all of them, they are very normal. Let's see what will happen to their offspring. So we move to example number 2. You want to move to example number 2. So in a way, we are moving to the second generation. You want to go to the second generation. We've seen that in the first case, the reality is the boys will be hemophilia because they are getting the X from the mother. But for the girls, remember the X for the father was having a normal gene, so girls will be getting the gene, the dominant gene for the normal blood clotting from the father. So at least for them, they are very safe. They are very safe because the gene is dominant. So it will suppress the gene from the gene from the mother. So in example 2, we want to pick the girl who was very normal. So a woman, let's say, who has normal blood clotting. But remember, in bracket, we say that this person is a carrier. So the person is heterozygous. So the person is a carrier. Or we say a woman who is heterozygous for normal blood clotting is married. This person is married to a man who has a normal blood clotting. So in that case, both of them, already they are convinced, they are very sure that all of us, we have a normal blood clotting. And probably in the family of this lady, maybe they were only girls, so they never had a chance to get boys. So in their family, they will also believe that we have a normal blood clotting system. But something will happen. Let's see. So you want to say we pick the letter, obvious, before we do the genetic cross, we need to get the letter that will represent the gene. So we say, let capital H represent the gene for normal blood clotting. Then we say we let small h represent the gene for hemophilia. So we want to see what will happen, because both of them, they are very normal. And we say that if the girl comes from a family that all of them are girls, then all of them are very normal. Then we see what will happen. So we start with parental phenotype. Parental phenotype. So for the man, we say for the man has a normal blood clotting. For the female also has a normal blood clotting. But remember, in bracket, this person is what? This is a carrier. Of course, we cannot see carriers. We cannot see someone who is carrying a recessive gene. That's why I'm using a bracket. We cannot see someone who is carrying a recessive gene. We can only see the normal part. But in quotes, we know that this person is what? Is a carrier. Then we move to the parental genotype. Parental genotype. Parental genotype for this is a man. So the man has a very normal blood clotting, that is XY. Then this person is crossing with someone who is also having a normal blood clotting. So in this case, it is a girl. So normal blood clotting means the gene for normal blood clotting must be there. But now the person was carrying a recessive gene. But remember, we say that this is a girl who is born from a family of only girls, and they believe that all of them, they have a normal blood clotting system. Then we go to gametes. So we are going to have XH. Then we have Y. Then we are going to have XH. Then we circle. We say that all gametes must be circled. That is the accepted way. And the circle must be complete. The circle must be complete. So you want to see the fusion or fertilization. So if you fuse this gamete and this one, then we are going to have a girl who is normal, homozygous, normal. If you fuse this one with this one, then you are going to have still a girl who is normal but carrying a recessive gene. Then if you fuse this one and this one, you're going to have a boy. You're going to have a boy, and the boy is very normal. And then if you fuse this gamete and this one, you are going to have a boy who is hemophilic. So we say that is the F1 genotype. F1 genotype. So if you are following keenly, remember we said both of them, they are very normal. But there is something that is happening on their offspring. The girls, of course, all girls will get the X from the father. Remember, the father is having a dominant gene for normal blood clotting. So it means that all girls in that family, if the family gets a point of getting only girls in the family, then all the girls will be having a normal blood clotting. Although there are chances that the girl either can be homozygous, normal, can be homozygous for normal blood clotting, or the girl can be heterozygous for normal blood clotting. Then, for the case of boys, the boys now it is a case of 50-50. If they get a boy, then it means the boy can either be having a normal blood clotting or the boy will be hemophilic. So what does that mean? The family that got married, that all of them had a normal blood clotting, is they are now getting a child who is hemophilic. I think you can guess the questions that sets in that family. So we say F1 phenotype, F1 phenotype, F1 phenotype. So these are girls. So these are girls. I think it's good I separated them so that you're able to see how to interpret each. So we say this is a girl with normal. This is a girl with normal blood clotting. The next one is what? Still a girl. It is still a girl. This is still a girl with normal blood clotting. But remember, this person is a carrier. Is a carrier because he's carrying a recessive gene. Then this is a normal boy. This is a boy. So we have a boy. And the boy has a normal blood clotting. Then, lastly, we have a boy who is what? Hemophilic. The boy has the condition for hemophilia. So what does that tell you? I want you to ask yourselves questions. People are very normal, but they are at one point in their generation, allow me to correct this part. This was not F1 genotype because you were giving, we were continuing in the same generation. So we will call this F2, not F1. This one we'll call it F2 because it is the same lineage that we are following. We started with the parents whereby the female was hemophilic, the man was having a normal blood clotting. But we say that all the girls were having a normal blood clotting. That is where we picked one girl with that normal blood clotting, who is now married to a female, married to a man who has a normal blood clotting. So in that case, we are saying that all the girls in that family, if they chance to get only girls, then all of them will be having a normal blood clotting system. But one of them, there is a chance that can be either normal for homozygous or normal for heterozygous. And we say the one for heterozygous, we say that is a carrier. Then if there is a chance that this family, they are going to give birth to boys, only boys, then in that case it is 50-50. The boy can be what? Can be having a normal blood clotting, or the boy can be hemophilic. And in that case, that's why we talk about the probability. What is the probability that any of their child in that family will be hemophilic? If we talk about probability, then we are going to say at one point we have 4 chances. So the total chances are 4. So out of those 4 chances, how many have the condition for hemophilia? It is 1. So the probability that one of their child will be hemophilic then will be 1/4. If it is in terms of percentage, then you multiply this one by 100, you will get 25%. So what is the probability that their children will be having a normal blood clotting? What will be the probability that their children will be having a normal blood clotting? So we say that out of the 4 chances, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, how many have the normal blood clotting? We have 1, we have 2, we have 3. So we'll say the probability that their child will be having a normal blood clotting will be 3/4. That is in terms of the percentage, then we'll say you multiply this by 100. Then in terms of the percentage, we are going to get 75%. 75%. So in that case, I hope you can now do another example. So in this case, I want to give you a question so that you can try it as you follow up with me. Now, this case, we have a man who is having the condition for hemophilia. So the man is hemophilic, but the female is normal. And in that case, the female is having a normal blood clotting in the condition of homozygous. So assuming that it was this girl, we say that is this girl who has been born to a man with hemophilia. So what do you think we'll have in that case? I hope you are trying to do that. So we are saying that the woman has a normal blood clotting. In this case, it is homozygous. So we remove the carrier. Is married to a man who is what? Who is hemophilic. So I've changed my question so that we see what is the other chance that we are going to have the child. So a woman who has a normal blood clotting is married to a man who is hemophilic. Hemophilic. So the man has the hemophilia. I hope you are trying to do that at home. And in my case, if I was to do that, then I'm assuming you are doing it so that by the time you are done, you are going to compare with what I also have. Because in this case, we are saying that you have a man, the man is very hemophilic. He has the condition for hemophilia. But the female is very normal, and is very normal with homozygous normal. So in that case, we are going to have the man who is hemophilia, and then we are crossing with the female who is having a normal blood clotting with in homozygous condition. So let's see, in that case, what are we going to have? Let's see, in that case, if we cross, so if you are going to cross this one and this one, then we are going to have a girl. So remember, in this case, we are saying that the man is hemophilia. So we expect the man to do what? We expect the man to be having the condition. So this is X. That is after meiosis. We are going to form the X, that is from the gamete with this chromosome. Another gamete will be carrying this chromosome. Another gamete will carry this, and then this one will carry this one. So that is after meiosis. So during fusion now, let's see what we are going to form. So we are going to have a female. A female is heterozygous. Then we are going to have another female in this case. And this female is also heterozygous for the condition. Then we are going to have the Y. We fuse the Y with the X from the female. We are going to have a boy. And this case the boy is very normal. Then we also have another fusion between the X from the female and the Y. Then we are going to have a boy who is very normal. So let's interpret, then we are going to give a comment on that. So these two are girls. And these two girls, they have a normal blood clotting. But because of the recessive gene, we say these people are carriers. Now, these two are what? These two are boys with normal blood clotting. So what does that mean? It means that in the whole family, all of them will be having a normal blood clotting system. As much as the father was hemophilia. Why do you think? It is because the female is normal homozygous. If the female could be normal heterozygous, then there are high chances that in that family they are going to have a child with hemophilia. But because the female, so if the female is sure that she is having a normal blood clotting in homozygous condition, then that female can be married to any man, because in that case the man is, whether it is hemophilia or the man has hemophilia or does not have, at least the children will be having a normal blood clotting. Although the girls who are getting the X from the father will be heterozygous normal blood clotting, meaning they'll still be carrying the recessive gene for hemophilia. So what is the percentage that the children will be having a normal blood clotting? It is 100%. Now the question is, why do we say that this condition mostly affects boys? Why not girls? I think that is a question that I tried to answer in the previous lesson, but I could wish to repeat. Why do we say that the hemophilia condition mostly affects the boys and not the girls? Remember what we said. Remember, there is something that we said, that for boys, they have one X and one Y. That is for the case of boys. Boys, they have one X and then they have one Y. For the girls, they have the two X. And because the gene for hemophilia is only carried on the X, then it means if the boy is having the condition, then that gene is on the X chromosome. So the boy cannot avoid being hemophilic. But another time, if the X is carrying the gene for the normal blood clotting, then it will be normal blood clotting. So in other words, we are saying, for the case of boys, you are either having a normal blood clotting or you are hemophilic. You cannot be a carrier. You cannot be a carrier because you only have one X, and that X can only carry one gene. But for the case of girls, we say that we have two X. Girls, we have two X. So what does that mean? The two X can be carrying the gene for normal blood clotting, or one of the X will be carrying the gene for normal blood clotting, but the other one is carrying the gene for hemophilia. But remember, we say that this gene is dominant, so it will suppress the recessive gene for hemophilia. So at the end of the day, girls, they can be homozygous normal blood clotting or heterozygous because they have the two X. So far, in this lesson, we have discussed about hemophilia and how it is inherited. I think you can try at home and do more of the questions so that you can see the outcome, the offspring that you're going to form. And in case you have any question, remember we said don't hesitate to contact us. We'll be able to respond to you. Until we meet the next lesson, I've been your teacher, Lydia Siago, and the program is Knowledge Quest. The subject is biology. Thank you.